Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Summary: Pride and Prejudice is a beloved novel by Jane Austen, first published in 1813. The story centers on Elizabeth Bennet, one of 5 Bennet sisters navigating love, class, and societal expectations in 19th-century England. Through Elizabeth's interactions with the enigmatic Mr. Darcy and other colorful characters, Austen explores themes of love, social status, and personal growth. The novel is both a romantic tale and a sharp critique of social structures and gender roles. Plot summary. 1. The Bennet family and eligible suitors. The novel opens with the famous line, "It is a truth universally acknowledged, that a single man in possession of a good fortune, must be in want of a wife." This reflects the social pressures of the time, especially for the Bennet family, whose estate is entailed to a male heir, leaving the 5 Bennet sisters reliant on advantageous marriages for their futures. Mr. Bingley, a wealthy and affable gentleman, moves to the neighborhood, sparking excitement as he quickly becomes attracted to the eldest Bennet sister, Jane. At the same time, Mr. Darcy, Bingley's aloof and seemingly arrogant friend, makes a poor impression on Elizabeth in the community. 2. Elizabeth and Darcy's initial conflict. Elizabeth, lively and opinionated, takes offense to Darcy's haughty demeanor and overhears him dismissing her as tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. This begins her intense dislike of him, which is compounded by the stories told by Mr. Wickham, a charming officer who claims that Darcy wronged him in the past. Elizabeth readily believes Wickham's version of events, further solidifying her negative view of Darcy as proud and unjust. 3. Jane's heartbreak and Mr. Collins' proposal. Bingley's sudden departure from the area devastates Jane, who had fallen for him. Unknown to the Bennets, Darcy has influenced Bingley's decision, believing Jane to be indifferent and wanting to protect his friend. Meanwhile, Mr. Collins, a pompous clergyman and the Bennet family's cousin, proposes to Elizabeth, hoping to secure her financially. Elizabeth declines, appalled by his lack of genuine affection and self-importance. Mr. Collins soon shifts his attention to Charlotte Lucas, Elizabeth's friend, who accepts him out of practicality rather than love. 4. Darcy's proposal and Elizabeth's rejection. While visiting Charlotte and Mr. Collins at Rosings Park, Elizabeth encounters Darcy again. Unexpectedly, he declares his love and proposes, though he does so in a manner that highlights her inferior connections and his struggle against his feelings. Offended by his condescension and enraged by his role in Jane's heartbreak and his alleged mistreatment of Wickham, Elizabeth rejects him, accusing him of pride and cruelty. 5. Darcy's letter and Elizabeth's change of heart. The next day, Darcy hands Elizabeth a letter explaining his actions. He reveals Wickham's deceit, recounting how Wickham tried to elope with Darcy's younger sister, Georgiana, to gain access to her fortune. Darcy also explains that he separated Bingley and Jane out of concern that Jane was not truly in love with Bingley. Shocked and ashamed, Elizabeth realizes she misjudged Darcy and begins to see him in a new light, reassessing her own pride and prejudice. 6. Lydia's scandal and Darcy's intervention. Elizabeth's younger sister, Lydia, impulsively elopes with Wickham, threatening to disgrace the Bennet family. Darcy, aware of Elizabeth's distress, intervenes by tracking down the couple and persuading Wickham to marry Lydia, providing a financial incentive. Darcy's generosity is kept secret, but Elizabeth learns of his role from her aunt, Mrs. Gardiner, and is deeply moved. 7. Reconciliation and marriage. Bingley returns to the neighborhood and rekindles his romance with Jane, proposing to her with Darcy's approval. Meanwhile, Darcy visits the Bennets, and after several interactions with Elizabeth, he proposes again, this time with humility and genuine affection. Elizabeth accepts, having overcome her initial prejudices and realizing Darcy's true character. The novel concludes with Elizabeth and Darcy happily married, and Jane and Bingley settled nearby, illustrating Austen's ideal of love based on mutual respect and understanding. Key themes. 1. Pride and Prejudice. The novel's title reflects the flaws of its 2 protagonists. Elizabeth's prejudice against Darcy blinds her to his genuine qualities, while Darcy's pride in his status leads him to judge Elizabeth's family. Both characters undergo significant growth, Learning to see beyond first impressions and societal expectations. 2. Social class and marriage. Austen critiques the social structures that pressure individuals, especially women, to marry for financial security rather than love. Through characters like Charlotte Lucas and Mr. Collins, the novel underscores the restrictive nature of 19th-century marriage expectations, while Elizabeth's choice reflects Austen's advocacy for personal happiness over social convention. 3. Self-reflection and personal growth. Elizabeth and Darcy's journeys are marked by self-reflection and the recognition of their faults. Their relationship ultimately thrives because they are willing to change and grow, suggesting that true love requires humility and self-awareness. 4. Family and reputation. The behavior of family members, such as Lydia's reckless actions, highlights the importance of reputation in Austen's society. The Bennet family's lower social standing and their sometimes inappropriate behavior create challenges for Elizabeth and her sisters in finding respectable marriages. Conclusion. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen is a masterful exploration of love, class, and personal transformation. Through Elizabeth and Darcy's evolving relationship, Austen critiques social expectations and celebrates the value of personal integrity and emotional intelligence. The novel's wit, complex characters, and sharp social commentary have made it a timeless romance and one of the most cherished works of English literature.